Hello, ladies and gentlemen. It's Mike Vonbeardingham here. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for tuning in to what hopefully will be a very interesting and informative conversation with my lovely guest, Miss M. May. Hello, my darling.
Hiya.
M is a very good friend of mine. We met through my band and music, and she told me about her story of being in an abusive relationship. Now, the idea of doing these streams is domestic abuse and abusive relationships happen far too often, and I'm sure that we all know somebody who has been in a domestic abusive relationship of some description, whether it's mental, whether it's physical. There are so many different ways that a person can be abused in a relationship with so many potentially devastating outcomes. So to their mental health, to their financial situation, it just goes completely across the board. And for those of you who know, a friend of mine and my partner's has been through a particularly bad domestic and abusive relationship. So this was kind of one of the catalysts to doing these interviews. So I'm very, very grateful for Em for coming forward to tell her story, because telling your story when you've been through something like this can be incredibly difficult. And also for a lot of people who have contacted me who have been very supportive about doing this, they haven't wanted to talk about their own story because it may still have repercussions in their current situation. Also, it can dredge up very, hard feelings and just general thoughts on things that they maybe don't want to bring to the forefront at the moment. So the fact that Em is going to be talking to us is absolutely brilliant, and I applaud you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So, right, and thank you, Stacey. We've got my friend Stacey is watching. So if anyone has any questions during the stream, I can relay them to Em from here. So anything you like to say, I will forward on to Em. So let's, shall we start at the beginning? I think at the beginning is a good place, don't you?
Yeah.
Excellent. So how long ago was this relationship for you in which you suffered domestic abuse?
Well, so the relationship started in 2019, and it was only 8 months, our whole relationship. So it wasn't a long time. It wasn't. It just wasn't that long. I mean, it was long enough mentally, but in real life, it was not even a year, which I'm glad.
Yeah. But that's one of the things, isn't it? It doesn't have to be a decade. It doesn't have to be 20 years. It can be a short period of time in which a lot of damage can be done.
Yeah.
So how did the relationship start out? So when you first got together, how was everything?
So we met at a party, and we know a few of the same people. When our relationship started, it was amazing. I literally could not fault him whatsoever. Our first date was probably one of the best days/evenings of my life. I experienced new things. I went to new places, and it was just smiles and laughs all round. I felt like I was in a dream, and it felt like that for a good 3 months. There was lots of experiences that I never probably would have experienced in a positive way if I wasn't in this relationship. So yeah, we went on a couple of dates, went on holiday. We lived together. Like I moved in with him, and yeah, it was just a dream, and it felt like I was set for life. It was just unbelievable. It was great.
So how quickly did you move in together?
It wasn't long, actually. It was probably a couple of weeks, which is, looking back now, is quite bad. It was not enough time to know each other. It wasn't enough time to even grow feelings for each other, let alone make that commitment. I mean, luckily we didn't rent together or have any commitments that side. Like financially, it was more just, I'll stay at your place, and it was just every day.
Oh, okay. So it was
very easy to get out of. Yeah, it's very quick, very quick.
So when did you first notice things started to change, and how?
I so first started to notice. I was obviously working in care, as you know. It was my first care job. I was loving life. I was really prepared for my career, and he asked me to reconsider that and work for his company. So I was like, okay. So I done it. I found us a space where we can rent and uh, work, and it just wasn't happening. I was promised this job, and it just wasn't happening. Like week after week was just going by. I had no money. My family was very disappointed and angry with me, but I just kept promising them that something was going to happen with obviously this new job. And it just wasn't happening. And it got to a point where he was getting frustrated that I wasn't bringing any money to the table. And that's when I kind of noticed and was like, something's not right.
Yeah.
He's made me come out of my career and promised me this fantastic job and not delivering.
So what was his? Because obviously this is his company, so you would hope that he'd already set this up, and to offer you a job usually means that you've got something already started. So what was his excuse for there not being a job there for you?
Money.
Right.
It was just money. He had a few complications with some guys that worked for him, which cost him money. And I understand that. Businesses do go through highs and lows. I've got my own business and there's been some struggles on that side as well. But it was just like, and he was moaning to me saying that I need to get a job, I need to get a job. And I was just like, okay, like I just need to find something now because I need my own money. So I was looking, and it was very restrictive of what I was allowed to do, because I had my driving coming up, which I wasn't allowed to do because in case I'd done something that was against loyal and whatever his excuse was. So I wasn't allowed to drive. So I was very restricted to where I could work. And he advised that I worked at the same place as his mum. And then that was just kind of like, yeah, this is getting bad now. Like I'm not allowed to work where I want. I got a job behind a bar in the village I lived in, and I was just constantly accused of this, that, and the other. I wasn't allowed to wear makeup to work. I wasn't allowed to wear a dress to work. It was just getting bad, and I was very in denial at the time. I was just like, oh, he's just doing it to protect me, because there was a massive age gap between us. There was 13 years between us.
Right.
So I just thought, oh, he knows what he's talking about. He's an adult. Like, he's just trying to protect me. But all along, I was just being led into something awful.
So what was his, when you say he didn't let you, what were the kind of things that he would say, and what were the reasons that he would give for you not being able to do these things?
So driving was in case I went and met up with boys, which I have a lot of male friends. I had a big group of friends, and a lot of them were males, a lot of them were females. Some of them come in little cliques. So I would like socialise with a mass group of people, and some of them were male, but I grew up with them, so I would never cheat anyway. So I don't know. He just didn't trust me, and his excuse was, I'm young, I'm stupid, I'm immature, I don't know what I'm doing, I'm naive, I'm sensitive, everything. It was just, I just wasn't allowed to do it in case I went against his trust.
Right. So a lot of unflattering terms there straight off the bat to say to your partner. Yeah. By the way, we just had somebody called Sid Jaggard says shush, apparently.
Oh, that's my brother.
Oh, okay. Hello, brother. How are you? I presume he's okay with you talking about this?
Yeah, he's 14.
Fair enough. Treat women with respect, young man. Okay. But So then how did that progress? So already he's starting to tighten the noose, so to speak, isn't he? He's restricting who you can be around and obviously where you can work, what he deems is okay. He's trying to set you up, working with his mum. So obviously you're under her eye. So it's another element of control. So where did we go from there?
So it was around Christmas time, and it was Christmas Eve. We come and saw you at the Boar's Head, and it was his first time meeting my mum and stepdad, which was put off for a while because of the age gap. They wasn't quite happy with it, and it took a lot of time for them to digest it. And they finally just said, "Right, okay, we'll meet him." Like, yeah, Emily's in a serious relationship. We've got to take this serious as well.
Yeah,
and so we went to my mum's for a couple of drinks before, and he drank quite a lot before we went to the pub. And I didn't really take much notice. I just thought, oh, bloody hell, he can nick it. And we got to the pub, and we met my friend there as well, who comes with me sometimes.
Yes.
To see you. And a few comments were made between them two, which I wasn't aware of because I wasn't at the bar. And it really triggered him, and then it upset her. So my stepdad was like trying to sort it out, and then it got really, really like angry towards them two, like between my stepdad and him. And there was nearly physical side of it, but I don't know. I can only go off what I've heard from either of them. Because I was inside trying to enjoy myself, trying to pretend this wasn't happening.
I remember you being, we can remember you being very upset during the set.
Yeah, it was bad because I was like, this is the first time they're meeting. Like, no, please don't go wrong.
Yeah.
And yes, yeah, so he decided to leave in a taxi, and I managed to climb over the gate and like try to convince him to stay and make things right. And he was pushing me and was like, no, I ain't doing it. We're done. And then I actually got into the taxi, and that's when he picked me up and just threw me onto the curb and was like, no, and just drove off. That was it. And then he wouldn't answer his phone. He was just texting me, like calling me every name under the sun, but he wouldn't actually speak to me on the phone. And it just really upset me. And I was like, this is going to be an awful Christmas. Like, it's our first Christmas together. It was just not great.
So we've got a question. How did your family friends respond to this guy? Did they like him? Did they know? So, well, I think that pretty much answers the question, really. That's from my friend TL. So do you know what was said between? Cause the friend you're talking about, I know she's very abrupt, isn't she? She's great. She doesn't mince her words. She's very straight to the point, kind of tells it like it is.
Yeah.
So do you think
Definitely.
that she saw the kind of person he was quite quickly?
Maybe. I mean, we were all under the influence that night, all of us, and it feels a little bit like a blur because drink was involved. It was just, and it went very quick, and it felt very traumatic at the time, and I was just like, yeah. So maybe she clocked on. And there was a couple times actually after she messaged me and was like, you need to do what's right for you.
Yeah.
And I was just like, he's all right. But she was right all along. So maybe she did.
We've had a message from friend Jess. So for some reason, I'm going to move this light because I put it right in the middle of where all the messages come up. So I keep having to look around. That's better. Friend Jess said, did you have your friends witness this outside, and did they help you when he threw you to the curb? Were your friends
No one was there.
Oh, okay.
They were all inside.
So what was his response after sobering up? Did he try and give you excuses why he behaved like that? Or was it did he claim it was your fault that this all happened? How did it go afterwards?
So I went home with my mum and stepdad, and we went straight to bed. And it was 4 a.m, and I got a taxi to his house, which cost me a lot of money because it was Christmas Day.
Yep.
And he wouldn't let me in at the start, but he was with his friends were at his house.
Okay.
And so they let me in, and he refused to talk to me to start with. And then he was okay because his friends were like, she's come all this way, like she loves you, like you need to just let her speak to you. And he eventually did, kind of. And then we went to bed, and then we woke up the next day. Like, he cuddled me in bed, and then when we both woke up, he just pushed me away and was like, "Ugh, like, I hate you." So he then went off to do what he wanted to do on Christmas Day. And then I rang my mum and said, "Can you please come and pick me up?" So she come and picked me up, and then we just went and done our Christmas Day as normal. I mean, I was very, very emotional, but it took everything in me to hold it back that day. And I just wanted to enjoy time with my family. It was my first time meeting one of my cousins. So I was just like, I've got to put this behind me. But I wasn't myself. I really wasn't myself.
Jess also asked, when you were pushed over, did you tell anyone what he'd done, that he threw you?
No.
So why do you think you didn't want to tell anyone?
I didn't want to admit that it was true. I didn't want to think of him like that.
Right.
I wanted to make every excuse under the sun. Oh, there's still something good in this guy, but there just wasn't.
Did you feel, because a lot of the time in these situations, the abusee feels that they're responsible, that it's their fault, that they've made their partner do it. Did you feel like this at all, or were you just thinking, he's just done this, it's not my fault?
Oh no, it was always my fault. Always. The whole anything that happened, even if I was being told by every person around me, or even deep down, I kind of knew that this wasn't right. It was always, no, it's my fault. I shouldn't have done this, or I should have done this. And he's just reacting how any person would, because I'm the one in the wrong. But I wasn't the one in the wrong.
Is that his words, saying he's just reacting how anyone else would?
Oh yeah, he said that. And there was loads. He said it was just loads of like, it's you, you're this, you're naive, you're young. It was very, very based around my age. And I was young. I'm not going to sit there and say I wasn't, because I was 18, but I knew what I was doing. I'm not stupid. I knew what I was doing and how my actions would normally, the consequences of my actions, but these were just extreme.
Yeah. So after Christmas, what happened then? How did things progress from there?
It was just constant. Like, it was rows at least once a week. He said that we woke up one morning and he just said to me with no expression on his face, I don't love you. And I haven't for the past 6 weeks. And I tried to hold it in. It was very hard. And I was like, okay, all right. And then the rest of the day, he was asking me to help him decorate. And I held on to that, because I was like, he didn't mean what he said this morning when he woke up, because otherwise he wouldn't want me here helping him decorate. And then it got to the evening time, we were chilling out. And he goes, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, what do you mean, what's wrong with me? I said, "Look what you said to me this morning." I said, "And I've helped you all day." I said, "I've not had a thank you." I said, like, what is going on? And he was like, nothing's going on. You just need to get out of this attitude. You need to stop thinking so negatively. You need to stop being so sensitive.
I'm not quite sure if someone...
just so confused.
Yeah. I don't really think someone saying to you, "I don't love you, I haven't loved you for the past 6 weeks," you can't really take that positively, can you?
No,
Let's be honest.
No, you can't. You really can't take it positively at all, especially when you are so head over heels for that person.
So even during all this, how were you feeling still that this is the guy you want to be with, or was any of this making you feel, I need to get out of this?
I think at that point I was still like, yeah, this is the guy I want to be with, which is stupid.
No.
And I feel silly for feeling that way, but I just was so, I felt so blinded by it. Like I was just so oblivious.
Was it because one of the things I've noticed when I've talked to people about relationships a lot is that at the start, obviously if it's kind of the fireworks and the amazing romance and everything's wonderful, even when it becomes horrendous to be a part of and every day is fairly horrible, they still latch on to but this is how it used to be, it could be like this, it was great once upon a time, why can't it be like that again? Were you still sort of holding out hope that it would turn back to how it was at the start?
Yeah, definitely. I think because of money side of things as well. Like we didn't have a lot of money between us. We got to points where we were counting change in our hands to get dinner that night. Like I find that very sad to admit, and I feel quite embarrassed by that now. But it's because I gave up everything, and I didn't need to be in that situation, but I gave up everything for this person, and it got to the point where we were counting change to see what we can get for dinner, and I was just hoping that business will pick up and I'll find a good new job, and that then we can start planning dates and holidays and things again. But I just could not see the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, and there's no need to be embarrassed, because believe me, you're certainly not the first person to give up everything for someone and then it come back and bite you in the ass. Believe me, the stories out there are thousands, if not millions. So yeah, you're not the first and you won't be the last. So, because one of the things where you've just touched on financially, I remember when you said about this before, that when this all came to a head, and I don't know if we're skipping too far ahead here, you said that you basically had to get out and get out quick, and you said that he pretty much got you into a point where financially you were screwed. You had nothing and you sort of had to make a dash with just a few belongings.
Yeah, so we ended up moving into his mum's because arguments were caused. Like there was a lot of arguments within the family that always resulted being my fault.
Okay.
But I hadn't done anything. Like I was just trying to do what's best for myself and my relationship, for what I thought at the time, and somehow it was just backfiring on me, and I was just the worst person in the world. And so we moved into his mum's for a little while, and I ended up having a bit of an argument with his younger brother, who's just a tiny bit younger than me, because he was really rude to me, and I was just like, I'm not having this, like, no. And it got to the point where he was like, oh, I don't want her in the house. So his mum was like, look, I can't have you live with us because it's making my son uncomfortable. And I was like, do you know what? I understand. Like, I understood, because I was like, if I didn't feel comfortable, I'd want my mum to do the same. But it was very dramatic for what happened. So I accepted it, and that's when the relationship, I was just like, it was at its worst, like daily just comments and rows and things like that. And I just literally got a few bags and went to my auntie's house and said, like, please take me back. Like, please, I need help. And she did, and she had a spare room ready. And if she's watching this, I'm so grateful. I don't actually know where I'd be without her. She was a lifesaver.
So how were your?
So thank you.
What were your? As Jess has asked, what were your parents' thoughts on him? Did they voice their concerns? So while this was going on, had you? If you didn't have, as you said, you went to your aunties. So were your parents not an option at the time? Was there some sort of conflict between you and your parents because of the relationship?
Yeah. So because of the relationship and the age gap and everything like that, my parents distanced themselves from me, which I really don't blame them for. I blocked them out and was like, nope, you're wrong. I'm happy. I'm doing what I'm doing. And it got to the point where they were like, we can't help you anymore. And they turned my room into my brother's room, because he's a lot older than the other boys and he needed his own space. And I would never ask for my room back, because that's his room now. That's his privacy.
Yeah.
And I respect that. So going back to my mum's wasn't an option, which is fine. And it took, it just before our relationship ended, I was at my mum's because we was on a day where we were talking, and she just sat there and begged me to leave him. She was like, this is just going to get worse and worse and worse, and it's going to get to a point where you are never going to be able to get out of it. And she literally begged me, and she was on verge of tears, and my mum's not a crier, like she's tough. And she was on verge of tears begging me to just get out as soon as I can and do what I can to just be safe. And that's when it kind of kicked in, where I was like, yeah. So then obviously I was at my auntie's, and silly me took him back because I left, and then he messaged me and asked me if I was okay. So I was like, yeah, I'm fine. How are you? And we got back together, saw each other for a couple of times, went on a couple drives. Didn't feel right. I felt very on edge. And it just got to the point where I was like, this just can't carry on. Like, I am so depressed. I don't like how I look. I don't like how I feel. I'm losing my family. I'm losing my friends. Like, no, this isn't right. I just got to leave. And I did. And I have not had any contact with him since.
Yeah. No, thank God.
Yeah.
So, obviously, you are in a new relationship now.
Yes, we are. We've literally just moved into our new home, which we're loving. And he's been very supportive, very supportive. I can't fault him.
So what have you learnt from... Because one of the things you do hope that some people, after being with an abusive partner, obviously they go through absolute living hell, and hopefully when they come out the other side, they've learned a lot of lessons to what to look out for, how to try not to get into that kind of situation again. What have you taken from that relationship, do you think, that's kind of helped you moving forward with new relationships?
The more they flash off to you, as in like not flashing as in nude, as in like money and materialistic things.
If they flash you, generally that's a bad start to a relationship.
The more they flash materialistic wise at the start, the less they've got to offer in the future, I find. Because me and Harry were actually friends before we became a relationship, and when he first was like, yeah, I want her to be my girlfriend, I was like, no. I was like, I ain't getting into a relationship, not after the last one, I'm not doing it. And he was just like, well, I want her, so I'm going to try. And he tried, but in a very non-intrusive way. Like, he was just there for me, like he was just funny. He's just been great from start to finish, well, from start to present, sorry.
Yeah.
And he's not once sort of showed any sign that my ex did, which is good.
Yeah, thank God.
I mean, in a weird way, I kind of thank my ex, because it's made me a better person, it's made me stronger, and it's made me wiser. So although he put me through what I call hell, I thank him, because it's made me realise a lot, and it's made me be a lot more wary. And it took quite a while for me to open up to Harry and become a relationship. Like, when it actually happened, everyone was like, finally.
We could cut this sexual tension with a knife, damn it.
Everyone was like, oh, finally then. And they're like, oh my God. And yeah, it was talk of the group for a little while, but yeah, I've just never been happier. He's just so supportive of everything that's come mentally and physically with my previous relationship.
Oh, excellent. We've had Michelle Emily send you a heart, and Holly
That's my
Tapner.
mum.
Hello, Mum. Hope to see you at a gig soon. And also Holly Tapner, strongest woman I know, love you so much, with a heart.
Oh, don't, I'll cry.
So what would you say, obviously going through what you've been through, and what would you say the key points for someone to look out for, the alarm bells, because one of the ones is of people restricting what another person can and can't do. I was a friend of mine was a hairdresser, and she told me about a time where this female client of hers was talking and said, "Oh, I've got this new partner. He's got a lot of female friends, so I'm going to put a stop to that." So exactly, it's that instant. I feel that I need to change this person to suit me. Which, when you think about the arrogance and the ego that goes into play with someone believing that they have a right to change things that you have in your life before they even met you. It's scary, isn't it? That you have these friends that you've known for however long, and they, right, now I'm here, you can't see this person or that person or do this or do that. The God complex that person must have to believe that they can dictate any of this to you is terrifying. So with that, obviously that's sort of one element of restricting who you can speak to, where you can work, what you can wear. But what else would you say is a red flag?
There's loads, but it's hard to actually pinpoint them. I don't know. I've been put on the spot.
No, it's okay. I mean, I suppose the way he was blaming you, always you being at fault.
If you find that someone's blaming you for a lot, and it doesn't quite sit right with you, and your gut feeling, that's narcissist. So that's a red flag. Giving you something and then without you asking, and then them saying that you now owe them, is a massive red flag. I had that a lot.
That's interesting.
Making you question yourself. So when we went to Amsterdam on holiday, we went down the red light district, obviously, to see it. And I was curious.
Isn't it the weirdest place?
I just don't understand. I'd go again tomorrow, but I just don't understand it. So yeah, we was going down the red light, and I was looking through the windows, and I was like, bloody hell, like these girls are actually really gorgeous. Like they're really good looking girls. And he made me question my own sexuality. Like, are you a lesbian? You're really looking at these girls. And I was like, I don't think so. And then I was just uncomfortable with myself, because I was like, is there something I'm not admitting to myself? Am I? But I'm not. I've always been sexually attracted to males and not females. And he made me question if I am or not. And I was just like, how is this happening? Like, I didn't know where I was in my own life. I was like, maybe I am. Like, I believed it.
Again, that's he feels insecure about it, so therefore sort of trying to push it on you, which is a friend of mine, just Mr. Snap, Mr. Al, he said, gaslighting, that is a usual start, making one believe it is them and not the abuser. Yeah, so it's very much one of the big things. It's your fault. It's nothing to do with the way I'm behaving. Oh. Did your phone just fall over?
Sorry. No, my phone went on to come up with something.
That's okay. But yeah, so again, making a person question their own beliefs and their own sanity is a very, very common one. And I noticed from the story you tell and a lot of stories I've heard throughout the years from people who've suffered similar, worse, the patterns are always seem to be the same. It's cut that person off from everything else they have in their life, get them dependent on you. So again, whether it's financially, no, you know what we should do? We should have a joint bank account where everything goes into one. Slowly remove any trace of independence you have, and then just start picking at you, belittling you, driving your confidence right down, so that basically no matter how badly they treat you, you are too scared to leave and just think that you're not worth anything. Hello, Atta.
I didn't think I had anything about him.
Yeah, and that is one of the real dangers of people like this, and the reason they tend to prey, because also the fact that you are young, and a lot of young people feel, and to be honest, a lot of adults and old people feel very insecure. It's a very insecure world we're living. You know, a lot of us, through a lot of our lives, are still trying to find our feet. And I don't know whether it's just something, whether they got a certain developed sense of smell that can just pick up on vulnerable people, but they just seem to know that they can find these people, tell them the right things, act the right way, and then once they've got the hooks in, just slowly destroy that person.
100%. And I mean, yeah, it's great. When I look back, I just think, how did I put up with that? How? Because I'm not one to put up with anything. Like, all of my friends will say, like, she will just say it how it is. She's very straight to the point. She doesn't put up with anyone's shit, excuse my French. And to put up with all of that and still think, oh, it's all going to be all right. Like, I just look back and I think, Emily, like, what are you doing? What did you do? But I mean, like I said earlier, I do thank him, because it has made me a better person, and I'm in such a good place now. I've got a really good job. I'm in my own home. My driving's booked. Like, obviously, because of coronavirus, I've not been able to drive. So it's now booked. I've got all my lessons paid for. I've got a good relationship with my family. Everything just seems to be better. And I've managed to now modify my body. Like, I've got hair extensions. I've got my lips done. I've got like my piercings, and like, I was never able to do that. He was like, no, stay how you are, stay natural. I'm saving to get a breast augmentation, and if I ever mention that would just be the end of history. Like, no, you're only doing that for other people, like not for myself, for other people. Just it was just crazy, and now I'm so happy that I can make these changes to myself that I want to.
What was I going to say?
Oh, sorry.
No, not your fault at all. No, there was a point I was going to hit on, and it's absolutely flown right out of my head. No, it's gone.
Oh no.
It's all right. There's not much in there to start with, so it's just generally fluff with bits of grit flying around. Is there anything else you'd like to? Oh, hang on. We've had another message. It is sometimes impossible to understand that you're in an abusive relationship when you are in one. As Em said, you can't believe it could be the case.
Very true.
And
I mean, my story's not half as bad as some people out there.
It doesn't have to be.
It could have been. It could have been. It could have led to that. And I was one of the lucky ones that managed to get out. And I've not had long-term effects massively. I mean, it's taken me a long time to buy all my stuff back, like my new shoes, my new clothes, sentimental items as well that he's got or had. That did take a toll, but it's only now that I'm finding my feet and getting there. So I am one of the lucky ones who managed to get out early enough, but there's still effects that happen.
My friend TL just said, here in the USA, it's the women's fault tends to be the norm in a lot of cases. Do you feel as a woman that you experienced sort of a bias like that? Because, well, I think you said because you were young, and he said you were naive. So, you're the impressionable woman who doesn't know what's best for her. And so I probably would say that that's quite a sexist attitude to have towards you, rather than seeing you as an individual who is perfectly sort of capable of making her own decisions.
Yeah, it was more my age rather than my gender. But it might have been my gender, but it was just all around my age, just all of it.
Because one thing I wanted to ask, actually, I've just remembered, it's just gone back in. When you were going through this on a day-to-day basis, now, I've heard someone I used to know, quite a harrowing abuse case that she went through. And basically, the way she would describe it is her abuse. I mean, she was beaten, she was raped, went through some horrific things by her partner. And when he wasn't doing this to her, he was the best boyfriend in the world. Her level of normality had gone from, it's kind of like, I suppose, being in a jail with a jailer who beats you every day, and then occasionally he might give you some scraps, and on those days he's the best jailer in the world you could ever hope for, and then he goes back to beating you again, and that becomes normal. So did you find when he was just acting normally around you, did that to you sort of make you feel, oh, maybe there is hope, he's being nice to me, maybe the relationship will be okay? Or were you just feeling uneasy through the whole thing?
I mean, it was very, very different every day. I mean, there'd be some days where I'd be like, oh, that's over. Yeah, everything's fine. And then the next day I'd be like, when's it next happening? Like, we're fine today. Dare I say anything? Dare I do anything? So I was very, like, in the background because I was just terrified of doing something wrong.
So you,
like,
yeah.
I was on edge every day. Like, no doubt,
Yeah.
I was very anxious, very, very scared. But some days I felt more like, oh, it's working, like, yay, and happy and wishful and hopeful. But even though I had those feelings, I was still very like, gulping. So yeah, it was different every day, but I still felt very anxious every day.
Well, my friend just said, for anyone suffering any form of domestic abuse, violence, there are people and organisations that can help. Absolutely. Al has been involved. I think he was involved with the police and also with different organisations who actually helped people who've been in domestic violence and abuse situations. So Al has sent me some links. So what I will do is I'll post them up in the description of this video sort of later on for people to check out. What would you say to people who find themselves in these situations and maybe are watching this? Can you give any advice to somebody who might have been in your situation or anything like your situation?
It will be okay if you seek help, and it might seem like the hardest thing possible, and it actually might seem impossible, but there are people out there. There are many organisations. There are people on the street that will help. There are people, neighbours. There are so many people that will help, because unfortunately a lot of the population have been in a domestic and understand. And it might seem impossible to get out, but just do whatever you can. That minute you have a loan, ring somebody, because it will make a whole world of difference. You might see no end to it now, but there is an end. But you've just got to do something, because it won't happen otherwise. I was very lucky enough to have my auntie say, come back, you can come back. And I think if I didn't have that, things could be a lot worse now. I can't guarantee that, but there's obviously people that are worse off than me and that have been sexually abused by their partner and beaten and restrained and all sorts. But that minute you have a loan, just reach out, because you don't know when your next alone moment is.
Well, I think that is a perfect bit of advice to end the interview on. So, my lovely, I just want to say thank you so much for coming forward and telling your story. So I know for a lot of people, as I said earlier in the at the start of the interview, I've been approached by a few people who have said they really like the fact that we're talking about this subject, and unfortunately for them, coming forward and telling their story isn't something they feel able to do, because it may still have ramifications and consequences in their real life. Maybe they are still in touch. Some people, for example, their abusive partner, who they may no longer be with, they might still have kids with. And unfortunately, in those situations, that person can then make their life absolute hell. some people who aren't,
Yeah.
who don't want to dredge up those old feelings. You know, so it's very difficult for a lot of people to talk about going through something like this. So the fact that you have, really, really appreciate it.
That's okay.
Right. So your mum says well done, Em, with a kiss.
Thanks, Mum.
But
Oh, I'm all emotional now.
let it flow.
I will do after.
Nothing says love like a mother's love.
Honestly, I love her.
And we were supposed to be playing her birthday, weren't we?
Oh, I know. They didn't actually get back about the venue, and obviously now coronavirus is happening. I don't know what's going on.
All right, Michelle, late birthday celebration. Once this is all over, we're going to party like it's not 1999, like it's 20. It'll probably be about 2025 by the time we get to actually do anything.
Remember my birthday as well. That's in August.
Yeah, hopefully we'll be able to celebrate that one. Okay.
Last year.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, we did manage to sneak out, didn't we? Yeah. Right. Thank you very much. And I will see you soon. Thank you for everyone who tuned in. And if there's any questions or if anyone wants... So if you're reaching out and looking for help, there are many places on the internet. There are many different, as Snap was saying, organisations that can help you. Don't be afraid to reach out. And things, even if you are questioning your sanity, if you're feeling that things are wrong, the chances are things probably are wrong.
You can message me any questions.
Yes. One of the things I always found very handy when trying to put things into perspective for someone who is being abused is to say, tell me the things, what you've just told me about what this person has done. If someone was doing this to your sister or your mother or a friend, what would you say to them? And if the answer is you need to get out of that quick as possible, then you are not wrong about how you are feeling, no matter who tells you you are wrong. Right.
I agree.
All right. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Em. And the next interview will probably be with my partner, Carrie. So she went through a fairly horrific... Well, she's gone through several horrific relationships. That's not me included. I'm amazing. But yeah, she's been through some sort of physically abusive, also mentally abusive relationships. So she is going to talk to us on the next stream. So I say we look forward to that, but in a kind of educational sense rather than not somebody knowing somebody's gone through a lot of bad things. All right, my lovely. I will see you hopefully very soon. Hopefully in the great outdoors playing music, and even though it'll probably still be socially distanced, we'll have to virtual hug from a distance.
That's fine.
All right then. You take care, and thank you very much for joining us. See you soon.